Hey everyone! Today we're diving into something that starts out as just a small, everyday annoyance but can, well, quickly turn into a full-blown homeowner's nightmare. I'm talking about the clogged drain. You know that slow draining sink isn't just an inconvenience, it's your plumbing system trying to send you a message. So let's decode what your drains are really trying to tell you.
We've all been there, right? You're washing your hands, you turn the water off, and it just sits there. The water pools in the sink, taking what feels like an eternity to finally disappear. This is probably the most common frustration, but it's way more than just an annoyance. It's the very first signal from your plumbing that a problem is starting to brew under the surface.
So, let's talk about the clogged drain dilemma. A simple clog is more than just inconvenient. It totally disrupts your daily life, and if you ignore it, it can escalate into a super costly nightmare of water damage and honestly some pretty gross potential health hazards. So what are the telltale signs you absolutely need to be watching for?
The good news is, your drains almost always give you a heads up before a complete blockage happens. You just have to know what to look for. These are the early warning signs, the subtle hints that you need to listen to what's happening down in the pipes.
Okay, sign number 1. This is the big one, the most common and earliest warning sign of them all. Slow draining water. It's the classic indicator that a clog is starting to form and restrict the flow inside your pipes.
So what does this actually look and sound like? Well, you will see standing water in your tub long after you've pulled the plug. Or maybe you'll hear this distinct gurgling sound as the very last bit of water finally goes down. That isn't just a weird noise. It's literally the sound of trapped air being forced through the blockage. It's a clear audio signal that there's trouble ahead.
All right, sign number 2, frequent clogs. Do you feel like you're constantly fighting with the same drain? If you find yourself having to clear out a clog in the same sink or shower every few weeks, that is not just a string of bad luck.
Yeah, frequent clogs are actually a symptom of a much deeper problem. It means there's a really stubborn buildup of grease, soap scum, or hair that's way down the pipe, far beyond where those basic chemical cleaners can even reach. Every time you think you fix it, you're really only clearing the very top layer, leaving the core of that massive blockage completely intact.
Okay, so we've moved on from the early warnings. Now let's get into the serious red flags. These are the signs that demand your immediate attention and are basically screaming at you that it's time to call in the professionals.
So what happens when water doesn't just drain slowly, but it actually reverses course and starts coming back up into your sink or tub? Now you're dealing with a really significant blockage. The drain is so completely obstructed that the water has literally nowhere else to go but back towards you.
Look, if you see water pooling and bubbling up from the drain, it's a plumbing emergency, period. This means pressure is building up in your pipes, and a serious overflow could happen at any second. This is definitely not a wait-and-see situation.
And now for the most severe red flag of all. Water coming up from the drains in your basement. This is a critical sign that the problem has moved way beyond a single pipe and is now affecting your main sewer line.
You gotta think of the main sewer line as the central artery of your home's entire plumbing system. When it gets blocked by heavy debris or, and this is super common, by invasive tree roots from your yard, the whole system backs up. And since the basement is the lowest point in your house, well, that's where all that wastewater is gonna end up. Now, when we're faced with these problems, our first impulse is usually to reach for a quick DIY fix, right? But for anything more than a tiny little clog, those home remedies often fall short and, believe it or not, can sometimes even make the problem worse.
Think about it. A plunger might just compact the clog even tighter, or worse, just push it further down the pipe. And those harsh chemical cleaners, over time, they can actually do some serious damage to your plumbing, and they rarely solve a deep-seated blockage anyway. At the end of the day, these are just temporary fixes for a problem that is almost guaranteed to come back.
So when all the DIY solutions fail, it's time to turn to the professionals. They have a whole toolkit of specialized equipment that's designed to get rid of clogs for good. Let's explore a couple of their most effective methods.
First up is power rodding. The best way to picture this is like a powerful, flexible drill for your pipes. A rotating steel rod with a cutting head on the end gets fed into the drain. It physically grinds through and just breaks apart those really tough blockages, which makes it especially effective against things like invasive tree roots.
For an even more thorough clean, pros use something called hydrojetting. Now this technique is really cool. It uses a super high-pressure stream of water to scour the inside of your pipes, just blasting away years and years of accumulated grease, sludge, and soak scum. It doesn't just clear the clog, it actually restores the pipe to a like-new condition, which massively improves the flow.
So really, the question you have to ask yourself is this: is today's minor inconvenience on its way to becoming tomorrow's major problem? That slow drain is your plumbing system's way of trying to communicate with you. The key takeaway here is to listen to these early signs and act before a small issue turns into a messy and very expensive disaster. Thanks for watching.